Hey, Mark. Thanks for being here with me today. I've been looking forward to this conversation because I know you and I both, we work with a lot of technology leaders in the profession. We both facilitate the Boomer CIO Circle and the Boomer Technology Circle. So we interact with a lot of technology leaders out there. But in addition to that, you and I were both, technology leaders. You and I were both CIOs of large firms for quite some time. So anytime I hear about a disaster or a crisis or, anything that could impact operations of an accounting firm, I have a lot of empathy for my colleagues that are out there. I immediately start thinking about what they're going through and what their thought process might be. So I want you to do us a favor, put on your CIO hat, put on your technology leader hat, your firm leader hat, and tell us from your perspective, what goes through your mind when your firm goes from being, in the middle of tax season to having almost 100% of their workforce working from home. What goes through your mind?
Yeah, thanks for having me here, Amanda. It's a truly crazy time right now. This is in a really, really unexpected turn of events for a lot of people. And it's funny because, IT leaders and strategic firm leaders spend so much of their time looking into the future and trying to come up with a plan for how this is going to play out and what steps A, B, C, D do they need to take. But those truly strategic leaders, this is their time to shine because they're able to also ask the what if questions. What if our plans don't follow A, B, C, D? What if they all of a sudden take a hard left at C and we're trying to figure out what letter comes next? So this is really an opportunity for technology and technology leaders to shine right now. They have really been showing their value to their firm. The ones that are doing a good job are just absolute rock stars inside their firm right now. And I don't know about you, but I've actually been hearing that even as some firms are starting to adjust the levels of their workforce, IT is not being touched. It seems like firms are really understanding the value of having a strong technology team right now. Are you hearing something similar?
Absolutely. And you mentioned it's really the time for IT to shine. And that's exactly it. Some firms out there that, they implemented some new technology and they didn't feel like they got as much adoption as they thought they would. I'm thinking about some of those hosted or cloud-based collaboration platforms and communication platforms. Now, all of a sudden, the firms are relying heavily on these technologies as they're trying to keep everyone, in a position to communicate and to continue to service the firm's clients. So a lot of our IT leaders are kind of excited. I mean, it's unfortunate that something like this had to happen, but the technology was out there. They already had it implemented. And now the firm is really realizing the benefit of that technology.
Yeah, absolutely. And getting people to buy in to what they're doing, it's funny because so often the IT leaders are really the cheerleaders for new technology. They can see the unlimited potential of some of these things. And oftentimes they get pushback. I mean, they still may have backing and support, but they get pushback because the vision isn't shared equally throughout the firm. So now, when all of a sudden everything is different, they're able to go and say, hey, look, we have this tool. This is what we were preparing for. Yeah, we may have thought this was going to happen in 3 years or 5 years, but look, we're ready to go. We have this there. And now the power of the technology as a force multiplier, as a strategic asset, really starts to shine through.
Yeah. So Marc, you mentioned two things that stood out to me. You mentioned our IT leaders really planning for the future. And you talked about, that vision and having that shared vision. A lot of the IT leaders that we're talking to right now, they've put a lot of their strategic plans on hold. I should say, really their strategic projects, because they're 100% focused on supporting the firm and, again, making sure that the firm can service their clients. I wouldn't say that means that their strategic plan is being thrown completely out the window, But would you agree that they're really going to have to take a long, hard look at what was on their plan, 2 months ago and adjust based on, what's happening right now? What do you think about that?
Absolutely. When you do an IT strategic plan, you're doing your best to pull out a crystal ball and predict what the future is going to look like. Kind of referencing that old Gretzky quote, you're trying to skate to where the puck is going to be. Well, all of a sudden, the puck is going in a completely different direction. So IT leaders, firm leaders are going to have to sit down and think really hard about how they're going to pivot their existing IT plan. What changes need to be made? What can be put on hold? What needs to be doubled down on? And really, especially when you start talking about projects that are in flight even, you may have to reprioritize resources and say, hey, this is no longer the top priority because our vision of the future has changed.
Yeah. And, I must say, knowing the members of our CIO circle, and again, our Boomer technology circles, this is what they prepare for. They're focused on support right now. They're focused on making sure the firm can continue, its operations, but they're very good at putting on that strategic hat and kind of pivoting and changing direction. That's what we do as strategic IT leaders. So just to kind of wrap up, I just want to ask any final thoughts or anything that you would say to those IT leaders, those firm leaders out there right now as they're going through, some of the challenges that we're seeing out there in the profession right now?
Yeah, I truly believe the most important thing right now is that community is more important than ever. And there is such an opportunity to reach out to those people that whether it's through the Boomer technology circles, whether it's through a CIO circle, something to that, but leverage those peers, understand them, get support from them, right? We often laugh and say it's kind of like a support group just as much as it is a strategic group. And now is just as important, if not more so than it ever has been, because we're all sitting in isolation in many ways, and understanding what other firms are doing, understanding what those best practices are, can really help leap their initiatives forward.
Yeah, and I know we've had more regular calls with our CIO circle, and we've got a couple more coming up. So I know I'm looking forward to those. Like you said, it's always a great time to connect, hear what they're doing, hear how they're overcoming some of these challenges. So I hope that in the future we can do maybe another one of these videos and talk about some additional things that we learned from that group. So thank you very much for being here with me today, Marc. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Amanda.